last night, but did it. Yeah, a lot of murk caught me in a hard way, but got a sticky in it, keep it at my dog's place. Girl, I left it, love it, magic, now it's all shade. Still going bad on you anyway.
So born in South Africa, 60 fights, 4 fights in the UFC, South African national champion in freestyle wrestling.
Yep.
2-time All-American, 1-year runner-up after blowing out ACL during the match. Owner of AKA here locally. Former Bodog champion, MFC champion, Shark Fight champion, King of the Cage champion. Jiu-Jitsu Masters 5 in 2025, gi, no gi world champion, and Pan Am champion, father of 2 boys, husband, and most importantly, a Christian.
Correct, yeah.
Trevor Prangley.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to Motion.
Yeah, no problem, man.
What was it like growing up in Africa?
You know, it's when I grew up, it was a lot different than it is now. Africa was a lot more peaceful and a lot more, how can I say, you know, a lot safer than it is now. So yeah, I had a good childhood. It was great.
So you grew up on a farm?
Well, I wouldn't say it was 5 acres.
Okay.
You know, we had horses and sheep, chickens, all kinds of animals, but it wasn't a big farm per se. It wasn't a production farm where you produced food or anything like that.
Okay. And are your parents still there?
My mom is still there. My father passed about 20-something years ago now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom passed about 1.5 years ago, and that was really hard.
It's really hard. You know, I just, I was able to go back last year for the first time. I hadn't seen my mom in 13 years, so it was good to see her. She's getting older too. So me and my wife are trying to commit to going over at least once a year till she's now, what is she, 79? So she's getting up there.
Yeah.
You know? So
yeah, for sure. And you just never know, because it's like with my mom, nobody knew she had a problem. And when she just died in her sleep one night.
Yeah, it's kind of like my dad. I was over here already. I was actually working in Texas at that stage, and my dad just went in for a routine surgery and had some complications and went septic, and I had to jump on a plane immediately, got over there. He was already in a coma and died 8 hours after I got there. So I get it. It was just kind of rough, you know what I mean? So never get to, I learned there it's important to tell people what they mean to you because, you know, growing up, I left when I was 24 and you're still kind of a tool when you're that age, you know, and you always you're fighting with your dad and there's always this kind of stuff. And then as you get older, you realize that, they may not have been perfect, but everything he did was for your own good. And, you know, you just don't get a chance to, sometimes you don't get a chance to tell him that or say thank you. So I would say, like, make sure you talk to the people that are close to you because it was an instant. I still regret that today, not being able to just sit down with him and have a man-to-man conversation instead of always son-father head clash, you know what I mean? So
no kidding. And because my dad is dead as well, and he left when I was a kid, and it did a lot of damage, you know, and it was just hard. And I wish, like, after my mom died, I thought about all the times I had, like, not wanted to talk to her or I was rude, and I was like, fuck.
Yeah, right.
Like, that sucks.
It does suck. It's like you can't get that time back. You know what I mean? It's I don't understand dads leaving. You know what I mean? It's just not.
Well, now that I'm a father, I'm like, how the fuck could you do that? Obviously, he was broken. You know, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, we're all broken in some ways, you know what I mean? I don't say my dad or a lot of people I know, their dads aren't perfect. You know, every generation has its issues. They were brought up in a way, you know, my dad's generation that you didn't show feelings or shit like that. So it's hard as a kid, but I mean, you got to be able to look through that and see that, like, his intentions were good and he stayed there and looked after us. So, you know, was it perfect the way no, but I'm sure his wasn't either. You know what I mean? Like I said, every generation has its problems. You know, this generation has its own set of problems. Like, we don't hold kids accountable enough and stuff like that. So that's this generation's problem. And we're going to see the outcome of that, I think, as we go on in time here.
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's like that old saying, you know, I think I heard this from your buddy, Tim Kennedy. He was on a podcast or something. He said, weak men create hard times create strong men create easy times create weak men, and it's just a never-ending cycle.
Tim's used that quite a bit. It's not his saying, it's an older saying, but it's totally rings true. It really
Yeah,
does.
that
You know
was
what I
just,
mean?
I think, where I heard it.
Yeah,
Just
it's the
from
fall of empires, right?
yeah,
Because America really is an empire, and it was really hard at the start, and was created, and strong men created the good times we have today, and we're enjoying that and not creating the strong men. You know what I
you
mean?
know what's crazy about before civilization falls, they get obsessed with gender.
They do,
It
yeah.
happened in the Roman times as well.
Yep.
And it's so obvious where we are
Right.
because every, men using women's bathrooms or whatever. But I, how the hell did you go from South Africa to NIC?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story. So, I was just doing my thing over there, living my life, I guess, in wrestling, and trying to. I had goals to get to Olympic Games. I won the national title, and then there was tryouts for the African Championships, which were the qualifiers, and I missed that in double overtime to the guy I had beat at the nationals. So I was had an opportunity. A cultural exchange team from Washington, actually Spokane, came over, and they were wrestling over there, and wrestled at the tournament, and came to our club, trained at our club, and the guy's like, "Hey, do you ever think about coming over and wrestling at college?" And like, we don't have wrestling's not a school sport over there; it's all club, and there's no
Yeah.
college or anything. So I didn't really know what it entailed. But I'm like, "Yeah, sure." You think you talk to somebody like that, and then you're never going to hear from them again. But yeah, a month later, I got a call and got some paperwork in the mail, filled it all out, and here I am. So I made a deal with them that I would walk on my first semester, pay for everything, get over there, all that. And if I made the lineup, then they would pay for the rest of my schooling. So that's what
Really?
happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good motivation.
Well, and you were
Yeah.
already so decorated at the time before you came over here. You're probably
Right.
like, I'm gonna fucking smash some of these guys.
Yeah, I thought that. There's some tough kids over here, man. It's a little different. Folk style and freestyle's quite a bit different on the ground.
Mm.
So it was a big adjustment for me. And yeah, I was able to make that lineup that first year, and I think it was good. The adjustments came, and my first year, I placed 8th at the JUCO national championships. And my second year, I still believe I would have won it. I was leading the match when I blew my ACL out and just couldn't continue. So
Yeah.
in the finals, so that was a tough pill to swallow, and that's really what got me motivated to start fighting, because I just wanted to compete and get that back. But my college was done. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I had to find something else to get that back in.
Is that when you started going to Lions Den?
It wasn't even Lions Den back then. It was International Academy of Martial Arts, I think is what it was called. And yeah, my brother-in-law had started doing jiu-jitsu, and he's like, "Hey, you should do this on the off season because to stay in shape." So I went up there, and I'd done judo as a kid for about 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
So I was a little bit familiar with the gi and with that style, although jiu-jitsu is a lot different, obviously. But yeah, it was a good transition, and I enjoyed it. Just something to do.
Did Derek own that as well?
Derek started that one. Yeah, he had actually just moved up here a year before I got here. I believe it was a year. So I met him pretty quick. We kind of met at a college party one night. Went from there, yeah.
Was he your coach while you were fighting, like, at some of the highest levels?
So not really. Derek did help me a lot in the beginning. He really did. And introduced me to jiu-jitsu, introduced me to Muay Thai, stuff like that, stuff I wasn't really familiar with. I had done judo and a little bit of sambo over in South Africa, but no jiu-jitsu. It was still pretty new there. So I got all that from him, but he just had his own schedule going on. So I pretty much coached myself and had some of our other guys hold pads and stuff for me. And then in 2001, Josh Thompson, who also trained with us, with Derek and stuff, and wrestled with me at NIC, said, "Hey, come down to AKA and train for your fights down there." So that's when I started going down there. And those were really my main coaches down there. I had
Where was that at?
so that was San Jose,
Oh, okay.
California.
So you went down to
So
California.
I'd go to California, stay with Josh. I'd stay there for about 5 weeks before each fight
Yeah.
and do my finishing camp there. Great coaching. You had Javier Mendez there as the head coach, and then Crazy Bob Cook, who cornered me for most of my career, and then Dave Camarillo, who I'm still really close with, and that's who I got black belted under.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
so he was my main jiu-jitsu coach for pretty much my entire life. So
How would you deal with the stress, like, going into a big fight? Like, that has to feel so much pressure.
yeah, it's the worst feeling in the world. It's like I promised I would never fight again before every fight, but yeah, I think that was that's the draw for it, right? Is putting yourself in this extremely uncomfortable position because you, fighting is one thing if you jump off a chair and you start fighting somebody because you have an argument and there's no time to think about it. But when you're stewing on fighting for days and days, it's just like, oh my gosh, weeks. Yeah. And then all the training and all the pressure and all the investment you've made into that, to go travel to California, spend the money to stay down there for 5 weeks, you're thousands in the hole. So, in the way, I'm sure everybody knows the way MMA works. It's half and half. So you get half the money and then another half if you win. But if you lose, you just get half the money. So a lot of times you're just breaking even.
Yeah.
So you did it all for free, especially back in the day when there wasn't money. It's a different sport now. A lot of young guys don't know. When I entered the UFC, my first fight in the UFC was I got paid $2,000 to show and $2,000 to win. So I made $4,000 to win my first fight in the UFC. That's all they paid for entry level back then.
Was that 2008?
Yeah. So I mean, you travel to California and you train down there for 5 months. You're spending your $2,000 easily, and you can make up some money on sponsors and stuff like that because you were still allowed to do your own sponsors back in the day. But it's high pressure, and I got my first UFC fight, and I think it was either a week before or after my first child was born, so that was stressful, and it wasn't 2 weeks notice. And the other thing people don't realize is back then the UFC only did 4 shows a year, so it's really hard to get in. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, they weren't like it was today where there's a show every month or, so it was 4 a year and it was the big shows. There were no fight nights and stuff like that. So you really had to be good to get in there and you had to win to stay in there.
Yeah.
So there was 1,000 guys knocking at the door, So,
yeah, and like killers.
Yeah, you really think about it. They did 4 shows a year. There's, let's say 10 fights a show. That's 80 fighters for the whole year. That's all they used.
That's wild.
So it was wild. Yeah. So there was actually an injury happened and that's how I got in there. They called me on the last minute. And
really?
I was 27 pounds overweight, painting apartments over in Arrow Point. I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. So
$4,000, you said?
Yeah. Deal. Sold. More money than I've ever seen.
Was that light heavyweight?
That was actually middleweight. So I fought most of my stuff at 185.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
dude, how long did you have to cut that 27?
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And back then, I mean, that was.
Yeah, that was, and you weigh in the night before, but it just, I bombed down to California, got 2 hard weeks of training in, and then went off to Vegas. And I still cut like 21 pounds, I think, in the 24 hours before that just to make it. Yeah. So it was
just like a sweatsuit in the sauna.
Yeah.
And a bike
it was tough. It was tough. But, like I said, back then, opportunities were hard to get in the UFC. And if it came up like that, you had to take it. So I rolled the dice. Just like I did when I came over here, I rolled the dice that I came over with after my first semester at school. I had $1,800. That's all I had. And I couldn't, you can't work because you're an international student.
Oh, so yeah, you need a visa.
Yeah, the only thing you're doing is little $5 an hour jobs under the table. You know what I mean? So if they didn't pay for my second semester of school, I would have been going home. So
it's just trusting in God.
Trusting God. And, I wasn't really saved then. So it wasn't. I mean, it's kind of a weird story. You always know about God, whether people want to admit it or no, they know there's something out there. And I grew up in a semi-Christian family, I would say. So we did believe in God and Jesus, but I didn't understand salvation, didn't understand God's love and Jesus' love and all that at all then. So, but I just knew there was something driving me to do what I did.
You were being guided.
Yeah, I believe so because like just on a side note, it's kind of strange how it happened, right? So South Africa's it was really hard to make a living and, you just do things you shouldn't be doing over there. So you're getting in trouble. I was running around with a Russian friend of mine who I was doing the Sambo with, and we were doing a bunch of stuff. And it's almost like God gave me this opportunity to pull me out.
Yeah.
And I was only going to come for 2 years because I was going to go back and try to make the Olympic team. But after blowing out my knee, I'd already bought my tickets. I was married. I married my wife here before that, and we were going to go back and live in South Africa. We had our tickets bought. 2 weeks after that, I wasn't even going to finish school. I didn't care really for school. I was going to go back and wrestle and blew my knee out, and I had to cancel those tickets to get the surgery and the rehab. So it's almost like God saying, "Okay, buddy, you're not going
Stay.
back there to dive back into that life, you know.
Yeah, you
So
need to stay.
you need to stay." And if I hadn't stayed, I don't know if I would have really got saved the way I did here. So pretty cool story, really. God does these things.
I know I'm being guided, and
Right.
I know I'm being guided because I went down to the jungle of Peru and I did ayahuasca down there, and I also did something called bufo, which is the toad, and it's 5-MeO-DMT, and it's extremely powerful. Like, I was asking the Peruvians before I did it, I was like, "Well, do you do it?" They're like, "No, bufo too powerful."
Yeah.
But they would do ayahuasca that lasts 6 hours. That's really intense as well, but the bufo only lasts 20 minutes, but it's really like incredible experience. And what happened when I did it was I was so nervous, my heart was pounding, and they're holding on to you and they kind of lay you back on these pillows. And I hear this voice, and it's like the most beautiful voice I'd ever heard. And she said, "Thank you for trusting me. I've been guiding you here." And it was like, I felt so much love in that moment, and it was really powerful. And really, like, that trip to Peru, going down to the jungle, gave me the courage to even start motion, because it's always been a dream of mine to have a podcast.
Right.
And really, that experience alone was what gave me the courage to even start this. And now I know I'm being guided. Like, that experience was
Right.
so powerful. It was extremely powerful. Have you heard of ibogaine?
Mm-mm.
You have? Okay. Well, we don't have to, like, talk about ibogaine, but it's getting more traction for helping people who have, like, PTSD
Mm.
and heroin addicts.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And, I also did that, and that is how I found God, was through ibogaine,
Oh,
through
nice.
visions, and it was really powerful experience. And God says, like, "When you search for me with all your heart, you'll find me." And I didn't know what I was looking for.
Right.
I had no idea.
Well, I'm glad you did. Like for me, my journey, like I don't think like those kind of experiences are really biblical per se.
Sure.
But where you end up, where you are now, and believing God, I think I mean, your journey is different than mine. Like
And I've definitely
Bible,
gotten
Bible does tell us to stay sober minded. Not that I'm not judging your experience and all.
sure, yeah, yeah.
I'm glad you came to meet God that way,
Mhm.
right? But for me, it was different, a little different. Mine was through just stupidity, really, and God saying, "Hey, buddy,
What happened?
just nothing crazy, but like relational stress, and just going off on my own, doing my own thing, and God pulling me back and saying, "Hey, you know what I mean? This is not what I've called you to do. This is not the vows you took," and just crushed me like psychologically and emotionally. You know what I mean? And I'm not a person who suffers from anxiety and all that, but I had mass anxiety, and it was just like he basically broke me to bring me to him. It was pretty crazy, really. So like I'm pretty. If you know me, I'm level headed and I don't swing one way or the other. But it was like a 6 month ordeal where I was like, holy crap, I'm gonna die at any moment, kind of deal. You know what I mean?
Really, through
Yeah,
anxiety?
yeah. And I wasn't even saved then, and then got saved, and that just all dissipated. It was gone, and I'm like, okay, I get it. You know what I mean?
Was there a day in your life that you can remember where you're like, "Oh, fuck. Nobody is coming to save me."
Oh,
Yeah,
plenty days. You know what I mean? Salvation is great, and all, it doesn't take all that away, though. You still have your days, you have your doubts,
of
you have
course.
I mean, I don't want to people to think like, oh no, my life's perfect now, but it's always great to be able to lean back on that, go to the scriptures, and say, okay,
Like, there's a
God,
reason I'm going through
yeah,
this, try to figure it out.
right. God does have me in the end. You know what I mean? I'm in His hand, and no one's going to pluck me out of that. So it's cool. It's really it was an amazing journey, right? It's a very humbling experience. Like I've always been somebody who's goal orientated, and I feel like I've pretty much achieved most of the goals I ever wanted, right? And exceeded some of them, failed on a few of them, but pretty much if you work hard, you can do it. And then you get this opportunity to be saved. And it's pretty humbling because there's nothing you can do to earn it. God just extends his hand and gives you that gift,
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
and you got no part in it. None at all, dude. You can take none of the credit. You're like, it's I think that's a thing that keeps a lot of people from going towards that. And I was lucky enough to go through that emotional distress and mental anxiety to bring me to my knees.
Yeah.
Right. I look back at it now and I'm so grateful that I went through those 3, 4, 5, 6 months of hell like that, because I might not have been smart enough to make that decision on my own.
Well, and God is the rock you hit at the bottom.
Right.
So, like, for me, I had about 3 years where it was really fucking bad. Like, my drinking was really bad. Everything in my life was a fucking disaster, and I had lost everything. And I woke up one morning and I'd gotten drunk the night before, like I did every night.
Right.
And I went down to Coeur d'Alene Lake, and the snow was like up to my shins. And I just walked right into the water, and I laid in the water and I dunked my head under the water and I said, "Forgive me, Father." And then shortly after that, March 31st, 2024, it was Easter that year. And I went to church, and I hadn't been to church in a long time.
Right.
And it was like a light switch had gone off. Boom. I haven't had a drink since that day
Oh, awesome.
in almost 2 years.
Right. That's great.
March 31st will be 2 years, which
That-
is,
That's amazing. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
it's really powerful.
Right.
Like,
God's real, man.
oh, there's no doubt
It's so
about it.
real. It's the realest thing I've ever really experienced in my life, per se. All this other stuff, it's just, I don't know. It's there and it's gone. Like I don't even remember half the things I've done in my life. But every day I'm grateful that God saved me and I remember what he's done for me. You know what I mean? It's pretty cool. Like life is, I think once you're saved and you realize that, yeah, I've accomplished some really cool things in my life, but like I don't care about any one of them. Like
Right.
I don't have the keepsakes. I don't have a wall full of medals and shrines and crap like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just grateful that God allowed me to do all that stuff and
Yeah.
gave me the skills to do all that stuff and gave me the drive to do all that stuff. And yeah, you have a part in it, right? You have to take what he's given you and use it. But
Yeah.
but you don't, if you don't have it in the first place, that's not your calling. You know what I mean? We can't force the issue. So
And then you said something just a second ago where you were like, "Oh, I was so happy after I got through that." And that's so true. Because what I've found was everything that has sucked in my life, first off, was my fault.
right.
And I put myself in that situation.
Yeah.
But once I got through it, I was like, "Oh, what a blessing that was."
Right.
Like, that was a blessing. Like, you might not understand it in the time because it sucks, but then you get through it and you're like, "Oh, I'm so much stronger now."
Right.
And you feel incredible for overcoming that.
Right. And I think it's even deeper than that. It's like God's like we're saved for a purpose. God has a plan for us. And all that stuff, although God didn't cause that stuff, but the stuff he allowed to happen in your life has shaped you so that you can relate to people in the same situation. Right. If while you were in your heavy drinking and all that, if some straight-laced guy had come to you to talk to you, it probably wouldn't have made a difference. Right?
No, you
But-
have to have to want to stop. You can't
Right.
stop for anybody else.
Or you'll listen to somebody you can relate to.
Yeah.
You have an ex-alcoholic or drug addict that comes to you and say, "Hey, this is what I went through. This is what Jesus did to me, for me." Right?
powerful.
Yeah, that's powerful. So, and then that guy probably wouldn't relate to somebody who hasn't been through that.
Yeah.
So it's God allows these things in our life, and he allows that pain, partially because we're stubborn and stupid, but I think he also allows that to happen so that we can help other people in that situation. So he's just far beyond our understanding. It's pretty cool. It's really cool to be able to, just that he would even care enough to reach out and save us. It's pretty amazing. So
That,
pretty cool.
yeah, God gave his only son for people who probably don't deserve it.
nobody deserves it. No, there's no probably about it, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
God can't be near any kind of imperfection, and I think we're imperfect the day we're born.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. You said something last night I'm really curious about. You said you met Vladimir Putin twice
yeah,
through fighting.
yeah, yeah. Crazy story, man. He's a huge fan, and I went to Russia, and this was when I was in the Bodog days, and we fought over there. The one time I fought, and the other time I cornered one of my guys. And the first time it was crazy. We just, after the fights, was about 11 o'clock at night. He just loaded everybody in bus, said, we're going to the Summer Palace. It's about a 2-hour drive. We get there, and there's like a 100-foot table with coffees and all kind of pastries, and he just wanted to have coffee with all the fighters. It was crazy, like 4 a.m. And then the other time, which was really cool, I went to Sochi, which is like on the Black Sea. It's where they had their Winter Olympics. This was before the Olympics were there, but they did a private show for him and about 80 of his closest friends. So it was on this nightclub on the end of this pier out into the ocean. And it was really cool. I actually have a picture with him on that one because I fought really hard. I did lose that fight and I was all beat up, but he got in the ring and pulled me aside and made a speech about this is what martial arts is about, no quitting, hard fighting till the end, blah, blah, which was pretty cool. I'm the only guy who got in and made that speech for, so I don't know if that's a compliment or an insult, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was cool. So I have a picture with Putin. My face doesn't look good, but his looks fine,
Oh, you're
So,
all
yeah,
beat up.
yeah, I was beat the hell up, yeah. But yeah, crazy. So it was one of the craziest things that's happened to me in my life, so meet Vladimir Putin twice.
Yeah, who can say that?
Yeah, that's nuts. So
Who else have you met kind of through fighting? Who's like a big name? Probably no one as big as Putin.
no, I've met a couple of movie guys. I've met Rogan a few times. I've Van Damme quite a few times. Boy, like I said, I don't really remember a whole bunch of the things. You know what I mean? So I don't think I've met too many other big. I've met Shaq. I've got a couple of pictures with Shaq. So stuff like that.
That's
Yeah,
a big dude.
he's a monster, dude. I look like a child next to him. It's crazy.
Are your boys gonna pursue fighting?
My oldest son Sebastian's had 5 fights. He's 5-1, so 6 fights, 5-1. But yeah, he's taking a little break and he's doing his own little thing, trying to work and get his life situated and planned out. So
How old is he?
he's 21, and I would prefer if they didn't fight. To be honest
For
with you,
sure.
that's like one of the hardest things I've done is corner my own child, and like you see your child getting beat up, and it's just not. I don't like cornering my fighters because it's stressful for me because it's like the most helpless feeling in the corner.
You're like,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you want to go.
you want to help them out, and you don't like seeing them get hurt, but there's nothing you can do there, right? So some guys love cornering and they're great at it. I'm good at it, but I don't like it at all. So especially my own son, that was tough. Those 5 fights. So he's taking a break now, and I told him, I said, like, if you don't ever come back to fight, I'll be happier than if you do. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If you do, I'll support you and help you out. But if you decide that that's not going to be your path, don't feel obligated. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. I rather wouldn't deal with that. It's tough. It's hard to see, man. I don't know. How old is your son?
He's 5.
5, yeah. So when he starts doing sport, I don't know if you'll have him wrestle or whatever, but you'll see even wrestling's stressful to watch.
He's gonna
So-
start coming in to AKA.
Oh, cool.
He's
Awesome.
I think do you know Dolph Hoke?
Mm-mm.
So I had Dolph on. I think he was my second episode we did. He's an incredible human being, dude. Like this man has done so many incredible things, like Deca Ironman, which is 10 Ironmans 10 days in a row.
Oh my
And he was the
God.
second American to ever finish it. And I asked him, kind of about not like raising children, but he was telling me, when there's a lot of stress, like it has to come out somewhere.
Yeah.
And Caden, he's a really good kid, but he isn't listening at school, and I
Right.
feel like he needs that to come out somewhere. So I
Absolutely.
think jujitsu would be beautiful for him.
Yeah, I think it would. Jiu-jitsu, and then, once he gets a little older in school, take jiu-jitsu off for the wrestling season, go wrestle.
Yeah.
Kids need that. I think, one of the problems with our youth today is that they don't have any kind of character building suffering. We make life too easy for them, for one, and for two, a lot of screen time. They just sit on the screens and they don't do anything. Like, it's just not healthy.
No.
Boys weren't designed to do that. They're designed to be out playing, play fighting, mock fighting, playing in the mud,
Yeah,
building
absolutely.
forts, throwing rocks at each other. That's what boys are supposed to do, and they've been trying to feminize the boys for years now,
Well, I
telling them
mean,
it's toxic to do that. Don't play cowboys and Indians or whatever. It's not well, shut
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 the
the
hell
hell
up.
up, dude. They're
Yeah,
kids. They don't see it as,
yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
you
they're
know?
playing.
It's retarded. I don't get it. I don't get why they do that to boys. Boys are designed to be rough and tumble. They're designed to be warriors. You know what I mean? And if they don't have that outlet like you're talking about, it's going to come out somewhere. And that's probably why there's so many school shootings or so many whatever else they're doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
it's got to come out. It's coming out somewhere. You might as well release it in a controlled environment. To not do that is just absolutely irresponsible as a parent. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be jiu-jitsu. It doesn't have to be wrestling. It could be any sport.
Mhm.
Sport is good for kids. It could be taking your kid fishing and hiking, is something like that. But you got to get these kids out doing something that men do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, especially like not especially when they get older, but I'm a true believer in like overcoming fear.
Right.
And I feel like when I do something like jump out of an airplane or I'm getting into paragliding or speed
Oh,
wings,
nice. Yeah, yeah.
and when you put yourself in these dangerous spots, it's like it makes you feel incredible
It does. Yeah.
once you overcome it. And then I would truly feel like when you do intense things, you are surrounded by the Father. It's really powerful. Like,
Right.
that is where I feel God the most. And when you're scared, but you force yourself to
Right.
do it. And for me, like, I've done 7 jumps, so I'm a baby at
Right.
skydiving.
Right.
I have so much
It's
to
7
learn.
more than me. So. I'm still a zygote, I guess.
Like, I have so much to learn, but dude, like, the way you feel when you are done, like, that is truth.
Right.
Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, overcoming fear, even if it's not that, right? Doing other things that are scary and scarier
Right.
because I grow so much through it,
You do grow through.
and it
It
makes you happy.
makes you happy. And makes you feel alive a little bit, you know
Oh,
what I mean?
yeah.
And I hate to use that cliche because they use it a lot, but it really does. It's like that's what I mean. When I started fighting, it was in the late '90s, and there was no money in it. We would travel and fight for $100 just to cover the traveling cost, But
Yeah,
it was exhilarating. It really was. Just that stress of the buildup, and then fighting, and after the fight, the release of that stress. It's
yeah,
addictive. It really is. It
yeah,
really is addictive, and I think that a lot of that, like I said, it doesn't have to be fighting. It doesn't have to be skydiving. You can get that through safer type sports. And I think that's lacking in our society today, is for boys especially. And I mean, our area is not that badly affected, but you go to a lot of larger cities where it's more liberal minded, and these kids are programmed in the school like, hey, don't do boy things even though you're a boy. They should just leave these kids alone. Like, I just don't even think school is set up for boys. I mean, boys are not designed to sit behind a desk. That's why
no.
they're always like, "Oh, there's this kid's hyperactive, or this kid's
Oh, let's put him on
yeah, yeah,
drugs.
let's put him on this," because you know, I signed up for a job. I just don't want to deal with a kid. Like, it's just, yeah. And I'm not bad mouthing teachers because there's some great
Of
teachers
course.
out there, but the
Yeah.
system's not set up for boys. Boys should be out working with their hands. They need to be learning as they're doing, whereas it's set up for girls. Girls do a great they're great at sitting and focusing. Yeah,
Organized. Yeah.
organizing and focusing and stuff like that, and boys aren't like that. They just aren't, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's kind of a rigged system, and I wish it would change. There are a lot more schools coming out that are focusing more towards boys learning while they're doing, and practical schooling and so forth, you know what I mean?
Well, all it takes is a bunch of like-minded parents to get together,
Right.
raise the money. Um, put in teachers in place that they trust, and then they all decide that what the children learn.
Yeah,
Like, that would be the best thing to do, because public school
it's garbage.
it is garbage. It really is.
Right.
And it sucks because my son's 5 years old, he just started kindergarten, and, like, I don't want my son learning about all this, like, stupid leftist bullshit.
No, they don't need to know about gender. I mean, they need to know about playing in the mud and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
being
Not,
kids.
yeah, dude. Why do you have to teach a 5-year-old about sexuality? I don't. I mean,
That's where
I
that
don't.
is, like, so far across
It's
the
demonic,
line.
dude. It's
Yeah,
demonic. It's
it
like I
is.
don't think people realize how demonic that is.
Yeah.
Like if you can sexualize children and take their innocence early, that's. I mean, Satan might have them for the rest of his life, and it's just not a good deal. I don't understand it. I don't understand why we allow it to happen.
What's one thing that's happened in your career, or even just with AKA, that in a leadership position that you had to learn the hard way? A lot.
Every day. I mean, yeah. I can't pinpoint one thing really. There's a lot. I mean, that owning a gym like that, working with kids and adults and stuff, it's just a constant learning curve and a constant failure and a constant going to people and say, hey, didn't quite handle that right. You know what I mean? Let's sort it out. Forgive me and let's move on. So I've had to do that a lot because, it's sometimes you just don't handle things the way you should. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, in the moment. But I think the important part is to be able to say, hey, go to that person, look, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I made a mistake.
I made a mistake, dude.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. If we can move on from here, that'd be great. I think 90% of people appreciate that.
Mhm.
And I think you get a good standing, and it's a good. I do that with the kids in the kids class too. If I
Bark a little too loud
bark
at
a
one
little
of
bit
them.
too loud, and
Yeah.
yeah, they might have deserved it, but you don't handle it like that. And I do. You know what I mean? It's a kids class is a hard class to teach, and I'll pull them all in, say, hey, I shouldn't have done that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how you raise men to understand that there's actions, there's consequences for actions, and then there's also things you do once you've made those actions. You know what I mean? There's I can't think of the word, but there's a way to reconcile
Mhm.
those actions and do the right thing afterwards. You may make a mistake, and everybody makes a mistake, but we got to sort it out at the end, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think that's huge for leadership, because I'm in a leadership position with my company,
mhm.
and it's like, I wouldn't have been ready for this a couple years ago,
Right.
because I would have been a terrible leader, because I've worked for some really bad leaders.
Yeah,
And I'm a true believer, like, if your leader doesn't have a life that you want, then why the hell would you listen to them?
right,
Because you're just gonna follow into what they're doing.
correct,
So if your leaders aren't overcoming fears, they're not, like, putting themselves in uncomfortable situations, like, that's important. And what makes me good at my job is everything I do outside of my job.
right,
It all directly impacts how good I am when I'm in home, right? Because I'm in sales, I'm a
right,
closer, and it all impacts it. And it's probably the most important thing about my job is what I'm doing outside of it,
right. Well, that's
you
where
know?
like you said, you're learning and you're building character,
Yeah.
and you learn to overcome uncomfortable situations, for lack of a better term. And I think that's really a part of being a man, is being able to understand that you're going to put yourself in bad situations, and not just bad, but just stuff that you caused, like
Yeah.
mistakes you've made, cause a
Owning it.
giant mess,
Yeah.
and then owning the damn thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, not blaming everybody else or not blaming your childhood. I mean, you had a tough childhood. You can't go back and blame that. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm here now.
yeah, yeah.
Like, what are we gonna
It
do?
formed who I am, but I don't get to blame that for what I've done. I need to have self control, right? So, I'm the same way, and yeah, it's a growing thing. You know what I mean? I'm in my 50s, and I'm still learning those lessons on a regular basis. It's just, I don't know if I'm dumb or just takes longer for some people to learn them. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I'm grateful for them all, really, because like you said, they shape you and help you do your job better,
Yeah.
help you deal with people better. And my job is a people job. I've had
Yeah.
to really focus on being more approachable, friendlier.
Was
stuff like
that was that hard for you
Very
for a
hard,
while?
very hard. It's not for any other reason that I'm a little introverted for the most part, like antisocial, not because I don't like people, but it's just socially awkward, really.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
It's
Like,
uncomfortable for
yeah.
me to make small conversation with people, but I've had to try to force myself to do that.
Well, you're growing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and, once you get into the conversation, you actually enjoy it,
You're
like,
right.
"Oh,
You're like,
that wasn't that bad."
I
Yeah,
don't wanna do that.
yeah. Yeah, and then when you're done, you're like, "Oh, that wasn't that bad. I actually enjoyed that guy's company. That's strange." You know? So, yeah, no, it's been a really that I think as far as having my gym explode and grow like it has, that's been the hardest thing for me to do, is
And
to
you just do AK now.
I just do AK, and, yeah, I quit my other job, like, a year and a half ago, and that was nerve-wracking, but the best decision I've made, so.
Right, because you're just literally that's your purpose.
That's my
AK.
purpose, yeah. I'm gonna focus on it and try to grow it, and what I found is, when I had the other job between that and AKA was 70, 75 hours a week, and then you just don't care to make those changes in your life because you're exhausted,
Mhm.
you're tired, not physically as much as just mentally, you just like, "I just don't wanna deal with it."
And
Now that I've been done with that, I've been able to grow, like I said, in my dealing with people, communicating with people, being friendlier, and spending time with the people that are at your gym. They come there not just to learn something, but they come there for a community. And then
Yeah.
you got the guy who runs the place, not intentionally, but he's just an asshole, right? You know what I mean? Because he doesn't.
been punching the head a
Yeah,
couple
well,
times.
he doesn't make the conversation, or you don't feel welcome by him and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And that was a big learning curve for me. I had to realize, like, hey, man, these people, they are important.
Did somebody
Yeah.
have to talk to you about it?
No, it's just something that started bothering me a little bit, because they would always talk to some of my other coaches, then my coaches would come to me, and I'd be like, "Well, why didn't they just come to me?"
Right.
And I'm like, "I don't know if you noticed, but you're kind of unapproachable." I'm like, "What?
What do you mean?
Yeah, what do you mean?" Yeah. So, and then for a long time, because like I said, I was tired, that was okay with me. I'm like, "Okay, I'm unapproachable. They could talk to you. You just bring me the important stuff." But then I realized that that's not how you build a community of trust and good friendship.
Absolutely.
You don't get to be a good influence on people by doing that either. You know
Right,
what I
because
mean?
you are the leader
Right. And
of that whole all of AKA here
Right.
in town, and if they can't come to you, I mean, yeah, there's gonna be holes
Right.
everywhere. Because
Right.
are you familiar with, Extreme Ownership?
Mm-mm.
That's, Jocko Willink's book
Oh, okay.
on leadership and the dichotomy of leadership. Do you read much?
Not too much.
Not too much?
Yeah.
You can also get
I
them on
can read,
audio,
but just
dude, for leadership, those are really good books.
Oh,
You might
okay.
actually get some benefit
Yeah,
from those.
I could probably listen to it for
And
sure.
Extreme Ownership's really just, if something in your gym is happening that you're not happy with, or somebody makes a mistake here, really it's your fault,
It is.
and
Even if it's not your fault, it's your fault if you don't deal with it, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Make sure, okay, why did this happen? Okay, I should have done a better job
Right.
doing this. And this is something I'm learning with the podcast, because we weren't able to do one a couple days ago, and I had nobody to blame but myself.
Right.
But it would have been really easy
Yeah.
to blame Kaylee.
Yeah. No, it would have been. But yeah, ownership, I think, is, and that's how part of the reason why I'm making the changes I am is because you got these young kids coming up, and they teens, and then, they look at you and the way you act and treat people, and they're going to model some of that behind
Absolutely.
themselves. And is my gym going to put out a bunch of assholes, you know what I mean, who don't give people the time of day? And even although I don't feel like I'm like that, that's the perception people have, right?
Sure.
And perception is reality, unfortunately. So I have to make those changes, and hopefully those kids coming up see those changes and say, okay, well, it doesn't matter how successful I feel I am, or how successful other people am. I have to have time for everybody, right? If there's an issue, you got to, every person is just as important. And I've always believed that, but just didn't live it out per se. And that was just like a way for me to not have to exert that effort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a character flaw. Character flaw, you identify it, what do you do with it? Right? You either keep living in that flaw, or you're like, no, dude, you're going to have to put the effort into start talking to people and finding out how they're doing, right?
Isn't
Yeah.
that kind of what happened with Lions Den? Was Derek was taking a bunch of guys going downtown and
You
beating the
know,
shit out of people?
that's kind of what was happening. You know, I don't particularly want to get into that
Yeah,
because
yeah,
Derek's passed and he's a friend of mine. And so, but yeah, that's the reason why we split. You know what I
yeah.
mean? I wasn't really involved with the gym that much, although we were partners. And I was away training all the time down in California. And when I came back and was getting ready to wind down my fight career, I heard all these things. And we had a conversation about it. And, you know, things were supposed to get better. When they didn't, I was just like, I'm done now, you know?
And
So,
he always treated me well.
yeah,
Like
no,
he was, yeah, he was a nice guy.
Derek was my friend. We didn't see eye to eye and everything, but he was my friend, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I do appreciate the things he did for me.
Do you?
Like, I'm never gonna say, well, he didn't help me in any of my fighting, or
Sure.
was that, you know, did he turn me into the fighter I was at the end of my career? No, he didn't. But he gave me the start, gave me good solid starts and stuff like that. So I appreciate what he did for me for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. So there's a lot of people who look up to you.
right.
What would you tell somebody who's kind of struggling or not really sure where to go in their life, who really looks up to you? What advice would you give them?
I mean, I would tell them like, hey, like I struggle too. I struggled back then and I still struggle today. Struggle is a part of life, right? You just can't let it dominate your life. So make a decision on where you want to go. Make sure it's the right decision. How do you do that? I don't know. Talk to people who are close to you. Get honest, good guidance from your friends and people that really care about
Mhm.
you, whether it's a friend or a mentor or whatever it is. But get the good advice. Make a plan and stick to it,
Yeah.
right? Don't let anything veer you off that plan. Um, and I mean, that's pretty much what I did when I came here. I decided to fight. I mean, it was the fighting was stressful in my marriage because there wasn't a lot of money back then in fighting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I did a lot of jobs while I built my career and all that, and it was stressful. And I get it. I don't blame my wife for being stressed. You know, we had a new kid, and we didn't have the finances to make her feel comfortable, and I totally understand all that. It's just I really had a plan, and I felt that was the plan, and I was going to stick to it, and it worked out in the end.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee it's going to work out for anybody, but it worked out for me, right? So I'm sitting
Well,
right
because
now.
you found your purpose.
I found my
That's why it
purpose,
worked out for
right?
you. And
And I prayed about it a lot, dude.
yeah,
Prayed about it, and I'm like, is this? And there was times I wanted to sell the gym just to not deal with the stress and all that, and like I never did, and I think God put me there to have that influence. And we have my gym has a men's group. We do Bible study every Monday night, and the guys, I have, we've changed a lot of lives and helped a lot of people through that men's group. And I think even that in and of itself is worth keeping the gym going. You know
powerful.
what I mean? Yeah, you got people. I've got ex-drug addicts, all kinds of people that come in there, train guys who have PTSD, whatever from the war. Veterans, and we get together in our men's group and we do an hour of Bible study, 40 minutes. And yeah, it's as powerful for me as it is for them, I'm sure. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Well,
It's
watching the
good.
transformations,
Oh, dude,
dude, that's like you find purpose in that.
purpose. There's nothing more satisfying than seeing somebody in a group with you improving their life. I mean, it's like all the successes I've had, and I tell everybody, it's like, oh yeah, you guys, you've done so much and all that. I'm like, yeah, but none of that matters to me. Really, like, I don't even keep any photos or shit like that. My wife gets mad. She's like, our kids don't have anything. You didn't keep any of your gloves. I'm like, I just gave them away. It's like, it doesn't mean anything to me because to me, that's in the past now. What is my future going to be? Right.
Yeah.
Well, what is tomorrow? What is today? What am I going to do to better my life, the life of my family and the people around me? Like what I did yesterday, I can't live on that. And I do that with success and failure, right? Because failure can cripple you
Yeah.
if you dwell on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of my philosophies in life. Like we in this society, we like to dwell on oh my gosh, I'm such a piece of crap. I did this yesterday, or this happened yesterday, or blah blah blah. Did you ask for forgiveness? Yes, I did. Well, here's the thing, dude. If Christ forgave you, how dare you not forgive yourself and move on? Right? It's a demonic ploy to keep you in that wallowing state of misery and failure. No, I have to move on.
It's called
Right.
rumination.
It is, dude. I liken it to fighting. You go in, you're training for a fight. You may have a great day one day. You whip everybody. Then you go in the next day and you just get crushed. So you have to wake up that next morning in pain and decide that I'm going to forget about that last workout. I'm going to make this next one. Although I'm hurting and it's later in the week, I'm going to make this the best one I've ever had. And that's what you got to do with life.
Yeah.
You got to say, this is my goal in life, whatever it might be. Like for me, it's to be a better person, to help people, and to, obviously make a good living for my family, but supply for my family and also be a better person every day. And it's a growing thing. So I can't look at those days that I failed and just be down on myself.
Yeah. You're
Can't
gonna
do
get
that
your ass
because,
kicked
because then
someday.
this day is going to be the same, and you're no good to anybody when you're in that state.
Well, and
So
how, like, you would never be able to appreciate the good days if you
Never.
didn't get your ass kicked.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Well, good days are way better. Yeah, no, but yeah, you just gotta, don't dwell on the past, man. The past is the past. There's nothing you can do to change it. Yeah, you might have done some terrible things, absolutely awful things, but if you've asked for forgiveness and forgiven yourself, you can do great things with those experiences.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So
Use them
I think that's one of the things I've learned through not just gym training, but I think that's one of the things God's revealed most in my life is like don't live in the past. Like I have a plan for you. If you're living back there, how are you going to see my plan?
Ooh, I like
Right?
that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't live back there.
Yeah.
Don't look in the rearview mirror. I'm out the windshield. So
That's why the windshield's so much bigger.
that's why it's so much bigger,
than
dude.
the rear view mirror.
Yep. And we get sucked into that rearview mirror. You know what I mean? Where we like to have that little emotional, I don't know even what to call, a little room that we go to where we beat ourselves up because of the failures we did in the past. But, remodel that room, get it out of there,
Well,
So,
Trevor, thank you for coming on.
you're welcome, buddy.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Follow Motion